Good afternoon, Lake Norman. I'm Bill Russell, and you have Town Talk. This is going to be a weekly show every Wednesday, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We're going to be discussing our towns, my neighborhood and your neighborhood. I want to first thank Justin Kazepis for the opportunity to do this. Thank you, Justin. And I also want to thank Susan Medlin, who designed my logo. We were talking about it this morning. Justin was talking about the logo we designed. Susan Medlin and Vintage Marketing and the creative team over there. Thank you for doing that. I'm president of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. And again, we're going to be having an opportunity to talk about our businesses, commerce, our communities, what's going on at Town Hall, our nonprofits, and the businesses that are affecting that. My guest today, I have Stacy Phillips, who is a two-term commissioner for the town of Huntersville and also the interim director of Rural Hill, and Bob McIntosh, the founding partner of the McIntosh Law Firm. He's also the chair of Rural Hill and also the chair of the Hope House. Wear a lot of different hats, don't you, Bob?
Well, if you, yes.
Stacy, I remember Dick and Keith Taylor when I first got up here in 1996, who shared a little bit about Rural Hill and took me out there, and I saw Rural Hill. Had a chance to go to the what was then called the Loch Norman Highland Games. But for people who don't know about Rural Hill, share a little bit about what Rural Hill is and where it's at.
So Rural Hill is the most magical place in Mecklenburg County. We are a historical site, a nature preserve. We host a ton of events, and it is something fantastic to be part of. It has been established now for over 30 years, and it is a crown jewel in the county. And being there is probably one of the greatest things I've ever gotten to do because I'm getting to do for my community in ways that I never thought I'd get to serve. And I mean, Dick and Keats Taylor left big shoes to fill.
What are some of the things that we do at Rural Hill?
Well, the Highland Games 2024 is the 30th anniversary. We have field trips. We have people who come out just to work out and exercise. We also do things like Burns Night. And this year, we're doing more and more events. In July, we're having a community yard sale. We're really trying to open the place up so other people can learn to love and enjoy it as much as I do.
And how many acres of land is Rural Hill on?
265 acres in Mecklenburg County.
Wow.
Yeah, it's magic.
Bob, you've been chair of Rural Hill for quite a while. How many years have you been the board chair?
I'm not 100% sure. Somewhere around 10 at this point,
10.
I believe.
What attracted you to Rural Hill?
Dick and Keats Taylor came and sat down in my office. Actually, it was Dick Taylor came and sat down in my office and said, Bob, the Highland Games need you, and you need the Highland Games. And from that brief conversation came an opportunity to serve out there on the board, work with the wonderful staff, and it's just been, that was about, I guess, 15, maybe 18 years ago, and then I got onto the board and then became board chair when Jeff Lowrance passed away.
Bob, Rural Hill is all about events, and during the pandemic and actually even the years right around it, the weather didn't agree on a number of projects. How did Rural Hill get through the pandemic and the weather-related events that we had?
Well, the pandemic sort of took care of itself. Nobody could come do anything, so we weren't having events, we weren't doing weddings, so it sort of took care of itself. The weather, on the other hand, before the pandemic, we have a dedicated group of volunteers out there and a fabulous staff, and they worked hard to make sure that we had what we needed. We got through some of the events. We took care of the bills and just tried to keep things tied up together such that when we were allowed to open back up, there would be something there to do, keep up with our events, our volunteers.
Stacy, it's the Rural Hill is from the Davidson family, same family as Davidson College.
The Davidson family is a complicated situation. As one of our volunteers, when I first came in, he explained it to me. He goes, they weren't brothers by blood, they were brothers in arms, and that's how you have to look at things with the Davidson family. Our Davidson was one of the founding fathers and signers of the MEC deck.
Okay.
So I'm a history nerd, and I think that's like the coolest thing ever to be somewhere that significant. And I will probably fight somebody if they try to tell me the MEC deck's not real, because it's real.
Explain what the mech deck is for those who are
Oh
not familiar with it.
man. So the MAC deck is like the Declaration of Independence, except it was signed first in Mecklenburg County. And there are people who say it doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. It does. We believe in it. And there's a MAC deck day, there's a MAC deck foundation. And getting to start focusing on that part of the history is so exciting for me because those are things that, you know, Charlotte gets to claim, but we have those little bits up here in Huntersville and Lake Norman too. Like Huntersville, Lake Norman is just as rich in history as Charlotte. And I'm excited that we get to put more focus on that because it's those little novice, tiny things that actually are what have made us what we are now. And it's building blocks and foundation. And I get to work at a place where a lot of that starts, and that's amazing.
What was some of the things that really drew you to history growing up?
Well, I'm a native, and getting to see that from, and I'm sure Bob's the same way. These are families that are here. They're families I grew up hearing about, and getting to know the background of that is just as good as gossip. Like, so my family owns the old store, and it's one of the oldest stores in Huntersville, and diving into our own history, and so much hasn't been kept up over the years, like written or documented. So when you get those little pieces that you can hold on to and verify, or even try to help other places build on that, that's preserving part of our town and our state. And I just think it's fascinating. And it's kind of like a little true crime because you get to do some investigating.
We just wrapped up the Highland Games in April. The Amazing Maze, is that coming back? And when is that opening?
So the corn is growing. Maybe a little too much rain, but the corn is growing. We are opening that up on September, in mid-September. Everything that we do outdoor event-wise is based on the weather and God, and it's in their hands, and please let it work out for us this year. And then it'll go through October 29th. And this year, because so many people do come out multiple times, we decided to do season passes for folks if they wanted to. Because if you have guests coming in or something, or it's a good way to work out.
Bob, the Amazing Maze was something that was brought in under your administration, right? Under your tenure?
It was, but Keats Taylor's the one that brought it in. I was on the board when it came on. It was a fabulous event. It provides funding for us. A lot of our other events don't make money. Mm-hmm. The games really don't make money. And so we have to do fundraising year-round to take care of these other events. And we produce them. People say, well, if you're not making money, why are you doing it? Well, we do it because it needs to happen. The Highland Games and Grandfather are going to kick off this weekend. And the vision, the dream that Dick and Keats had was, hey, this is Charlotte. There's an international airport right here, huge population right here. Having to go all the way to Linville for Highland Games, that really shouldn't be. We should have our own games here at Loch Norman. And so that vision is what started, and the Maze is one of the events that Dick and Keats set up for us to be able to program and provide the games.
When we get back, we're going to talk about some of the other programs that you have at Rural Hill. But join us in about just a few minutes. We'll be right back.
Take your favorite WSIC shows with you anytime by going to WSIC News wherever you get your podcasts.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Lights, camera, Burkdale. At 7:30 this Saturday evening, celebrate Christmas in July at Burkdale by watching The Grinch. It's a 2018 animated version. Bring the whole family out this weekend to Burkdale and Huntersville for movie night. For more info, visit burkdalevillage.com. Iredell County Public Library's Toddler Storytime is happening Thursday, July 6th from 10 to 10:30 in the morning. The focus is for children ages 18 to 36 months. Registration is required. To register online, visit iredell.lib.nc.us. That's the Iredell County Library website. Kane Center for the Arts in Cornelius has released their upcoming fall schedule. Some of the acts include comedian Jeff Allen and the Charlotte Symphony Orchestra. For the full schedule, visit them online at canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. 2023 is the year of the trail. Cornelius is challenging community members to visit all 9 greenways between now and the fall. Each trail has a station where you can check in to verify you have visited each of the trails. Visit all 9 and you will receive a swag bag from the town of Cornelius. To find out more, visit cornelius.org or contact the town of Cornelius's Parks and Rec Department. The Huntersville Growers Market is open each Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon. The Huntersville Growers Market is hosted at Veterans Park in downtown Huntersville. Want to be a vendor at the Huntersville Growers Market? Visit huntersville.org. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
Here's your latest forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. A chance of showers and thunderstorms through Monday. Mostly cloudy today and tonight. Today's high near 88, the low tonight around 70. Mostly sunny tomorrow with a high near 89. Thursday night's low around 71. Sunshine returns for Friday with a high near 91. Mostly cloudy Friday night with a low around 70. For your Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 88.
Have your say.
Trusting the government to fix anything is a joke.
Be a part of the conversation.
We can't even trust the banks with our money.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
Are you following us on social media? Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at WSIC News.
Welcome back to Town Talk. I'm Bill Russell, host of the show today. I have Stacy Phillips and Bob McIntosh with me. Bob, you're the founding partner of the McIntosh Law Firm. I think that's got to be one of the largest, if not the largest, in North Mecklenburg. Is there another?
It is. We're the largest law firm between Charlotte and Winston.
15, 16 attorneys?
We were 15, and we unfortunately had one pass away about a month ago. George Cunningham passed away. And we miss him, but now we're 14.
You do everything but criminal, is that about right?
Criminal and a few other isolated specialties that you don't get into, but any law that folks pretty much need,
right?
That's what we do. We do folks law.
You know, your firm has been so involved in the community, not just you, but your attorneys engaged in the community doing things. But your firm is sponsoring a number of things going on. Past board chair of the Chamber of Commerce. We were just talking off air about our Thanksgiving breakfast. We've got a breakfast coming up in November. You want to share a little bit about what we're doing with the Thanksgiving breakfast?
Well, the Thanksgiving breakfast is a fundraiser, actually the fundraiser for the Lake Norman Chamber Foundation, which is the charitable arm of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. I've heard people say, well, what does the chamber do charitably? Well, the chamber itself is not a charitable organization, but it's always good to have charitable intent. And so the foundation was set up in order to allow the chamber to express that charitable intent. And that's what we're doing with this fundraiser. The fundraiser is going to benefit the Lake Norman Y before school and after school and summer camp programs. We believe that it's important that people have access to good, solid alternatives for their children. The summertime, it's tough sometimes. If you're working, you've got to have somewhere for the kids to go and be. The same is true with the preschool and after school. So if you need a good option for that particular hole in your family calendar, then the Lake Norman Y does a great job, and the Chamber Foundation says, well, that helps support businesses, it helps support workers, it helps support the community. This is something we can get behind, so that's what we're doing. It'll be the Tuesday before Thanksgiving week, Tuesday before Thanksgiving week, and we're going to do it at the Peninsula Club this year.
And speaking of the Chamber, next Tuesday we're having our healthcare summit. We're going to have John Green from Iredell Health Systems, Mike Riley from Novant, and Bill Leonard from Atrium at Northstone Country Club. It's going to be Tuesday, July the 11th. We'll be talking about healthcare issues. that's a huge issue facing business. So again, we encourage people to attend that. If you're a chamber member, it's $40. If you're not, it's $50. And McIntosh Law Firm is a sponsor of that program as well.
Yes.
So we thank you for doing that.
Glad to.
Stacy, we were talking a little while ago about some of the programs at Rural Hill. You've got the Amazing Maze coming up. What are some of the other programs that you guys are having between the now and the end of the year?
Well, we have Miss May's Tea coming up, and that's a very important one because it's in honor of May Davidson, who was the benefactress of Rural Hill and one of the remaining Davidson children who left the property to the county and made sure what it is now. We have the sheepdog trials, the maze, we have community yard sale, and then a very important thing we have going on is the Sounds of the Highlands Gala, which is a partnership fundraiser between Historic Rural Hill and the Children's Youth Orchestra from Cornelius Children Youth Orchestras. And the children are extremely talented, and they will be doing the entertainment, and they'll be playing music from Scottish composers. And then we'll have a meal, fancy, nice meal, from a local caterer called Savory Moments. And all the proceeds are going to be split between Rural Hill and the youth orchestras, and that way we're being able to support and help one another.
Bob, I know every program you enjoy at Rural Hill, but is there one in particular that you really enjoy?
Well, the games, of course, is top of my list. So I'm trying to drink water, and apparently I
choked you up.
Well, no, apparently I have a lack of skill there. The games are really what gets my heart going, and Highland Games are just such an expression of Scottish culture. And if you are Scottish in any way, and a lot of people would be surprised to find out that there's a Scot in their woodpile somewhere.
Sure.
But the games are really what lights my fire and what keeps me focused on Rural Hill.
How many people annually come out to the Highland Games?
It varies depending on the weather. Unfortunately, we get anywhere from 5,000 to 15,000, and sometimes 20.
And do we know where we're drawing from? How many states are involved in terms of that?
Oh, I'll take that one.
You go ahead.
So the way that it looks from the one this year, which in my head we're already in 2024, but 2023 games, it looks like we had 10 states and a few different countries. We had people from Canada fly all the way in for our games. We had a couple people from Scotland, and those are just tickets I'm able to track at the door. But our games is actually very beloved, and coming into this, learning that, it's really neat. That is such a tight-knit community, and it was one of the most positive experiences I've seen of people embracing not only their culture, but almost like it's a fellowship, and like the warmth people had for strangers. It's awesome to see that, and like you feel the love, and you know, you watch stuff, and I mean, for me, the athletics, it's insane. Like, we had people like world record breakers on our property, and watching them do this stuff, I mean, it's fascinating, but it's also cool that we're being able to promote that and continue on these like very important things.
Come on, Stacy. You know it was the guys in the kilts tossing the cabers.
Now, one of the things we used to have out there, we haven't had in quite a while, is the Warrior Dash. Do you ever see that coming back?
No, I don't. In fact, I'm not sure the Warrior Dash itself is still in business.
Oh, really?
I think maybe it has. I don't know that it's still continuing, but no, we don't have any.
Talk about mud. I've never seen.
Yeah, that was not a favorite of Mecklenburg County.
Now, Mecklenburg County, what role do they play with Rural Hill?
They own the place, and they are our landlord. And that 265 acres that Stacy was talking about is likely the most regulated piece of real estate in Mecklenburg County. There are, I know, 6 to 8 agencies that have direct control and input into what we do. So we are very limited because we're a nature preserve, because we're in the watershed, because we county property. I mean, it's just mind-boggling sometimes the amount of regulation. So we try real hard to work with our partners down at the county, and it's a give and take process. They don't want to tie us up to the point that we can't make enough money to keep the property going, because if we weren't there, Mecklenburg County is going to have to mow 265 acres. and that's not something they want to do. They like us there taking care of the property. But we have to do that within the parameters of what the county's willing to happen out there. And the other organizations that have control, we can't cut a tree unless somebody tells us we can cut a tree.
Bob, when you talk about something as big as the Highland Games, how many volunteers does it take to put something like that on?
A lot. And, you said, what's my favorite event? My favorite thing about Rural Hill is that what Stacy said is exactly true, and that is it will bite you and it will capture your heart. And we have a core of volunteers out there that they don't come because they like me and they don't come because they like Stacy. They come because they have been bitten by Rural Hill. And it's those folks that come out there and water the plants and pull the weeds and set up the displays and do all of the stuff that's got to pick up the trash, do all the stuff that's got to be done. That's the real heartbeat of Rural Hill. And if it were not for those folks, we could not do what we do. So the games are my favorite event, but the favorite thing about Rural Hill is that core group of volunteers. And like Stacy said, it's a brotherhood and a sisterhood. It's just family. And you don't have to be blood related to family. You just come out there and take part in what's going on and try to help out for the benefit of everybody.
Stacy, is there a particular program that you've enjoyed the most out there at Rural Hill?
Not a program so much as the cows that we have. The Highland cows are truly like my little happy place. I'm the only person I know who, when they get off work, goes to work.
Uh-huh.
And I love the sunsets. I love the people. I'm excited to start bringing back historical things, but I think for always the games will be my favorite because that's really the foundation of it, and that is what builds us up to be able to do other things. But if we're not doing the games, we're not doing what we should be doing at Rural Hill.
And if somebody wanted to volunteer or be a vendor at any of the functions, website that they can go to?
They can go to ruralhill.net, or they can email info@ruralhill.net, and myself personally or one of my staff members will get back to them quite quickly.
You know, Stacy, we were talking when we started this that you were born and raised in Huntersville. I think you were born here, right?
I mean, I was born in Charlotte, but, we didn't have a hospital up here when I was born.
But your family has been here for the whole time, and I think you've seen a lot of growth, a lot of changes in Huntersville. What's the most significant thing that you think over the course of your tenure you've seen change in Huntersville in particular?
I mean, going from a small town to, Burkdale was a cow pasture and Target didn't exist, to that just being something that we accept now. Mm-hmm. There are people who don't remember or know any of that. That, 25 was not a real exit. It was farms. So that kind of progress and change, I just roll with the punches with it because that's the inevitable, and I welcome people to move to this community because it's great.
Well, when we come back in just a minute, we're going to talk about your role with the town of Huntersville and what enticed you to run for the town board and some of the things that are going on in the town of Huntersville. Come back right with us with Town Talk.
Local and North Carolina news now on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC. News Talk Now.
I'm Mike Jackson, WSIC News. WSOC reporting that a 25-year-old apparently drowned after he fell off a boat yesterday afternoon on Lake.
Bob, what'd you do over the 4th?
Landing Park in Huntersville. Multiple
Did we have
agencies
two
were
drownings
involved in the
lake this
recovery.
weekend?
Oh, no.
I watched one of the drownings. Right at the first guy. He graduated from South Neck.
That's so sad.
So I watched that. We just kind of went out the house and watched the fireworks from the whatever was there. And then I hear just now heard they had another one. That one was true in Huntersville.
WNCN that crowds of people started running away after fireworks went off on the around in the area around the
It's all
food
fun and
trucks.
games.
He says no gunshots were
Somebody's not wearing
fired
a life
during the
jacket.
incident. Chris
They
Miller,
don't
the
realize that you
battalion
get
chief
tired
for the
swimming,
Knightdale
and
Fire
Yeah.
the
Department,
bottom's
says
85
nobody
feet
was
deep there.
hurt, but there were
You
some
can't stand on
heat-related
it.
medical
So sad.
Now sports with Joe Burr.
Yesterday was the Nathan's famous 4th of July hot dog contest. The legendary Joey Chestnut took home his 16th win.
Just
Also,
hanging out.
PGA Tour at the John
What'd
Deere
you do?
Classic starts today.
I was at the farm.
WSIC weather calls for a chance of showers
We
and
took the nieces to
thunderstorms
Carowinds.
through
I am
Monday,
peopled
mostly
out.
cloudy today and tonight.
Was it?
The high today near
It was,
88.
we didn't leave until after 5, but it was
For tomorrow,
hot.
sunshine with a high
The
near
crowds weren't that
89.
bad though, because that roller coaster being all over the news kept
Yeah.
people from going.
Well, they had something else. One of the roller coasters here got stuck upside down, too. It was on the news as well. Both of those things happened.
But they have no traffic control to get you out of their parking lot.
Did you see the video of the,
Everyone is screaming.
did you see the
"Run to
video
first base."
of
The
the,
girl picks up the ball and throws it towards her. Accidentally, the ball hits her square in the face.
People are
Now, the
popular.
ball is soft and wasn't thrown very hard, but the
roller
shock
coaster where it was
instantly
broken?
brings the girl to tears. Not knowing
you
what
see
to do, she runs to her teacher, takes her into her arms.
That's so scary.
It's not a little
We
crack
all
shoot off.
experience similar things in life.
I rode 2 whole
We get hurt,
rides.
We get scared. We get in shock when bad things happen. The book of Hebrews says, "Come boldly into the throne." of
All right.
grace that
So when we get back, we're going to be talking about again some of the road improvement projects that are up.
Thanks for listening to a
We'll
Bible
talk
Minute
about
with Pastor
that.
Randy Mitchell here on
Anything else
WSIC.
going on at Town Hall? We won't
Prioritizing
get
your
into
health
the
is
development
one of the
projects per
best
se.
ways to take care of yourself.
But
From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy.
Parks and Rec, are
to
you
the
up on any of
illnesses
the Parks and
that
Rec
stop you in your
issues?
tracks. Iredell Health
Okay.
System will be by your side.
No, everything was, I mean, we've been budget. Like,
Iredellhealth.org.
that's my big thing was the budget. And now that that's over,
Cool nights have you itching to spend more time outside?
I'm a budgets person.
With your outdoor oasis, with gas grills from Royal King and Wilmington, charcoal grills from Kimona Joe, and pellet
All right.
fill your grill cylinder for only $15.
Bob, anything we need to talk about with the practice?
Start at only $450. G&B
Okay.
Energy in Statesville at 120 Enterprise Drive or gbeenergy.com.
Hi, this is Susan. I'm excited to let you know that Lake Mountain Coffee is now available for private events. Our beautiful historic building with its 360-degree mezzanine has hosted many private parties, catered diners, and even an actual wedding. Please contact Andy at 704-252-1886 for more information. Thank you so much.
If you have a deferred retirement plan such as a 401k or an IRA, you've been counting on growing the balance in that account and deferring the taxes till after retirement. But let me ask you a question. How would your retirement lifestyle be affected if tax rates went up?
How many cows you guys got at Rural Hill?
A lot. I'm Larry Jones,
5,
the founder
okay.
and president of Navstar Financial
All
Planning.
of them Scottish?
One of the most common complaints
The
I
Scottish
hear from
Highland cows?
retirees is
Okay.
how much they lose to Uncle Sam. Even Social Security,
are-
which was a tax, is
they are
taxed.
cute little
And I
boys.
believe
Yeah,
our
I've seen
current
'em.
policies in
I've seen 'em.
Washington are only going to drive
When they're
tax
little,
rates up. My friend Mathematics
they just
says
hang
it
them
simply
for
has
fur
to
balls.
happen. Are you comfortable
Sometimes
having the
they don't
government
have
as a
fur
business
balls for
partner
fur.
in your retirement
But,
portfolio? I'd like to help you develop a
I love
strategy
them.
designed to get you into the 0% tax
If I
bracket
quit, I'm
by the
taking them
time you
with me.
retire. For many, it's achievable, but the sooner you get started, the better. Give me a call at 704
I think they'd follow me home.
7482 and let's have a short 10-minute
They
chat
might.
about where you are now and where you'd like to be financially.
Larry is a member of the Financial Planning Association.
I'm the
Call
snack lady.
663-7482. News you can count on. News Talk WSIC.
Okay.
Welcome back to Town Talk. This is Bill Russell, and your host, and I have Bob McIntosh and Stacy Phillips with me. Stacy, we were talking just before the break. You're in your second term as a commissioner for the town of Huntersville. What enticed you to run for town board to begin with?
Something I probably can't see on the radio, but I just felt like the town was going in a direction that I could maybe help.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's if I see a problem, I want to be able to provide solutions, not just sit on the sidelines and complain. So that's what I did, and oddly enough, the girl with the pink signs won.
And filing opens up for that office this coming Friday, right?
Yes.
Noon this Friday.
Yes.
You see a lot of people running for town board this time around?
I think that you are going to see a hot mess of people running this time. God bless them and good luck. It's a lot more work than people realize. But if you feel that in your heart to do, and it really has to be a true calling of the heart, not a calling of the ego, then put your name in there and let the voters decide. Absolutely.
Now, you're specifically not running this time around because of your role with Rural Hill.
That is correct, and that is now it's public. I have served my community on the dais, but I feel like I can better serve my community on a farm and going back to my roots and doing what I love and what I know and taking the things that running for office provided me and being able to use it at a nonprofit, a nature preserve, and a farm. And how lucky am I?
Let's talk about some of the things, though, you've learned. I know I've watched you. I think you've really grown over the course of the last 3.5 years as a commissioner. What have you enjoyed most about serving as a board member on the town board?
Helping people.
Mm-hmm.
It's the little things like somebody's trash didn't get picked up. And while other people think that's a silly thing, that's a service that your tax dollars provide. You are owed that service. Helping people with potholes. I like doing the small things because the small things are what make a community and a home. But also, I accidentally turned into like the biggest budget hawk and nerd. And I love being able to save people money and being able to do that for my community and say we didn't have any tax increases while I've been elected when the world's been crazy with inflations and all that stuff. That's a pat on the back. But the biggest thing I'm proud of that I've done is the Huntersville Police Department carries Narcan now. And that was a passion of mine because I never wanted to put a police officer in a situation where they ever said what if when it involved another human's life or their own lives. So we have had a couple officers already win life-saving awards for having Narcan on them, and I'm glad that they can be at peace, that they can effectively do their jobs.
You know, a lot of people think that you guys solve all the world's problem, that you make sure that you do all of the road projects and you're in charge of all the schools. But really, the hands are tied on a number of issues that the town board wrestles with.
Yes, if I could be king for the day as people think we are, oh my gosh, the things that could be done. But unfortunately, we are a Dillon Rule state. We are in Mecklenburg County. CMS is its own beast. The town's actually very limited in what we can do, but I think what we do it very well.
What are some of the, when I live in town of Huntersville and I see a lot of road improvement projects and a lot of that, John Anarella and his board were very forward thinking and got a lot of things put into the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Plan. So we're seeing a lot of road construction around 115 Gilead Road. What are some of the projects that you see that are now coming to an end? And what are some of those that we're expecting in the future?
So Patterson Road was a big one, and that one's now 100% complete. Main Street in downtown Huntersville, I feel like we've talked about that forever and ever, and now you're seeing the progress. There's now, and this is state, but you're seeing acquisitions for 73, good, bad, or ugly. They've been talking about 73 since before I could vote. It's a slow process, but as things are getting done, it's a good process. There's a big focus, it seems, more on downtown projects or the concerns about downtown. And then the real beast is the Gilead Road widening, and we're surely seeing it happen on 23. And as one of my former commissioners, Brian, used to say, we're going to have a lot of headaches during these projects, but once they're done, what a relief. So when I get complaints, and I even complain myself, I try to think of the end goal. That, maybe it won't take 1 billion hours to move through a few stoplights.
Now, the roundabout at 115 down toward Mount Holly, Huntersville Road, that's been completed.
Yes.
But we're still working on another roundabout?
They're working their way up. They've had a lot of issues. I mean, you have to think the infrastructure downtown is so old, and when it was built, they never built it with the vision that Huntersville one day would have a population of 100,000 people. So they're having to work through old infrastructure and modernize it and work through those issues. And I'll tell you what, our public works department, they are the true heroes and the leaders, well, not leaders, but the true heroes of this town, because nothing gets done without them. And the work and the hard work they've done in these hot days, making our town better for all of us, is fantastic.
You know, you just talked about the growth. When in 1990, I think the population was 3,000 people. By 1996, we were talking about 30,000 people. Now we're a community of 70,000. Is that about what the population is
We
now?
are in the 60, 70 range projected. And that just trips me out to think about, because when I was here in the 90s. But some of it, too, is people have been annexed in, but still, it's a boom. Like, Huntersville is a big deal in the state, not just Mecklenburg County. Like, we're not the sister city to Charlotte. We are becoming our own place and have our own identity. And watching it happen, I think, is cool, and getting to help try to navigate it to be the right way is an honor I've had.
Now, Huntersville has a very small town hall, but we might have a new one coming. Certainly Davidson just took the old school and improved on it. Tell me about town hall.
So Huntersville Town Hall is supposed to be built. We've acquired lots. They're paid for right beside our current town hall. And the vision that the majority of this board had was, let's build it so no other board has to go through this nonsense again. If we want to put all of our staff in one building, let's actually do it. And let's make it truly a place for the citizens. And I'm excited that we might, like, this is the nerdy stuff you deal with town. We might start buying materials soon, and I'm looking forward to it because we need it. There were issues in the past with what they wanted to do. A former board, I was against it, but I think if you're going to do something, you do it right, and you don't tie the hands of other boards in the future to have to make these hard decisions. I like being part of the hard decisions to make it easier on other people in the future.
We were talking about road improvement projects. Certainly another one on everybody's mind is Sanford Road. What's the status of any improvements to Sanford?
Oh, man, that is DOT. We've seen maps, which is more than I ever thought I would see in my term because, you know, they've had funding issues over the years. They are acquiring property or in the process of getting ready to do acquisitions. Personally, I'm not thrilled with 100% of what they're doing, but we got to work through it. And if we can get some things changed that make it better for the community, that would be great. But there is progress being made. We're just not seeing it because it's on paper. And I think for some people, it's hard to understand that progress on paper when it comes to town and state and roads, that actually is progress. But till you see a shovel in the ground, a lot of folks don't think anything's being done.
You know, Bob, one of the things that they were bringing up when you were board chair of the Lake Norman Chamber way back in 2010 was the rail line, the red line coming through. What do we see in terms of transit or anything in that headway? I know that they were talking last year about a supposed tax that they were going to levy for transit improvements. So what are we hearing on that front?
I haven't heard anything else about that tax coming through.
In addition to the one they're already levying?
I mean, you have to think all transit tax eventually just pays for Charlotte, and it neglects North Mecklenburg. So anytime they talk about a tax at all, I'm not here for it.
I hear you. Bob, when we get back, we're going to talk again about the firm and your involvement. Again, we've got a law firm that's very plugged into the community. We appreciate everything you do. Join us again. Come back and see us at Town Talk in just a few minutes.
Now it's public.
On the record with Brian Summers. We'll continue after these messages.
We'll talk about that. Bob,
I mean, seriously, I could do that. I was his first hometown hero at the law firm, and now look, full circle moment.
I remember that.
How we doing?
I think we're doing okay.
Sounding good. Good job. Good job. Any questions?
When did you do the radio at App?
2008 to 2011.
I listened to you on the radio. That is weird.
It's very possible.
You guys played Panic at the Disco's weird music, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I wasn't really into the music, but it's what our format was.
Oh, I was into the music.
Yeah,
I was that kind of kid.
One of the shows we did was Request Joseph Fridays, and it was like at night, and like we would make up these callers. Like, Jimmy's calling from the bar down the street, and he wants Matchbox 20 instead of our regular stuff, and that's what we're doing. So, the music director did not like me for that, but that's okay.
Do you remember when the bear went in the bar?
Was that Klondike or something?
No, the one across from a campus on the other side. It was like.
It doesn't surprise me. I can't say it surprises
Justin would go interview him.
I would. Yeah, I would. I should have brought a camera down.
Yeah, they said that you did app, and I was like, whoa, because I didn't get any radio stations up there, so I was forced to.
90.5. Well, you got WATA, the country station.
I didn't listen to country. I was in my dubstep indie phase then, and rock and roll.
I could see you doing dubstep.
I loved some dubstep.
What color was your hair back then? That's the question.
I was extremely conservative.
Oh.
I had a nose ring. I had my Monroe pierced.
What's your Monroe? What is a Monroe? Okay.
But I was like the most conservative person.
That doesn't sound super conservative.
I didn't look it, but like my election night party in 2008 was me and one friend.
Yeah. That's okay. You guys need anything?
No, we're good.
What are we doing? What are we going out with? One more segment. You guys?
Yeah, one more segment.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to talk about how awesome Bob is.
Yeah. Go for it.
You want me to talk about any true crime stuff? I'm update on anything murder, crime, cults.
Take those headphones over. Did I get you the wrong one? Oh, I got black stuff all over you right here from these headphones. Let me get you these. I gave you mine. These are my ones from App. That's why he just was.
Oh, the crusty ones probably smell like weed. If you drive through Boone.
Wipe it off your ears. Just blame me. Tell Miss Ann to blame me.
Everybody on Facebook, welcome. We know that you can hear us. We know that you can watch us. We're very cognizant the mics are on, and we appreciate you being with us during the break, and we're going to be back in about 2 minutes. So thank you for joining us on Facebook, and thank you for putting up with our very first show.
Yeah, they just heard that, so there you go.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We got it on Facebook. They're there.
Your call's here.
Was Lisa texting you or something? Or?
I've had about a dozen people going like, do y'all know y'all are still on? And yep, we know that we're still
My mom
on.
said, we can hear y'all, no commercials. That's okay. We have nothing bad to say.
So anyway. Welcome back to Town Talk. You have Bob McIntosh, the founding partner of the McIntosh Law Firm, and Stacy Phillips, the two-term commissioner for the town of Huntersville and the interim director of Rural Hills. Stacy, I want to ask you a question. How big a part does social media and people appearing at town hall, how big is that in the decisions that you guys make as commissioners?
It shouldn't make any kind of influence over us because we're supposed to be doing the work of the town and the town's people. And sometimes you have to make decisions that may not seem popular, but you know that they're ethically or morally right. I personally avoid the social media stuff at this point because what I'm supposed to do is read my agenda, ask my questions, work through the process. So I don't get into that, but unfortunately it seems that kind of like TMZ nonsense of being housewives of Huntersville and hateful, it doesn't work for me. But I hate that that's a process that now people factor into how they do town's business, and not just in Huntersville, but it seems everywhere. It's an everywhere problem.
You know, it is amazing. You see some of the comments on social media, sometimes during the town board meeting on YouTube. They'll post comments. And they say things that they would never say in person, either about the elected official or about other people. So it's the whole social media has gotten kind of bizarre.
Oh, we've had emails too. Like I think we all got an email where somebody, I had never read anything like it in my life, and we're real people. Like we just care. And even if I don't agree with the people on the board, I know in their heart they're doing what they think is right, and that's the most important thing. But you can't, I don't read those comments because I don't find them effective for my mental health, and I don't think they're effective for how I should be a leader.
Mm-hmm. Somebody looking to run for office for the first time, what advice would you give them?
Honestly, pray. If you are a person of faith, pray on it. See what we've been through in the last year and take into account that when you run for office, you're not just running for office, your friends and your families get sucked into it too. I had an unfortunate situation where my parents have been treated not the best because of my voting record. And it hurts. Like, I can take it all day, but, you know, when you see well-meaning citizens who have a differing opinion or your family get attacked, I don't want to cry now. Now I just want to tell people off because they don't deserve that. They didn't sign up for this. But by proxy, unfortunately, with the climate and the way people are today, everybody now is sucked in, and it's not fair, but that's part of the process.
You know, the old store we talked about a little while ago that your parents have run, and you managed it until you went to Rural Hill. It is sort of like the de facto town hall, though. You go down there on any given Saturday afternoon, and the number of people stopping in there just to sit down and ask your opinion, ask Danny's opinion on things. It's a who's who down there at the old store.
It is, but that's also a nice reminder why small businesses are so important. Because without that little small community hub, a lot of things wouldn't be spoken about or discussed. And even during the Mecklenburg County revow, I was able to talk to customers face to face during Christmas, like, here's the revow pamphlet, get ready, be prepared. And being able to do that for my community, even on that little level, it's good. But, oh my gosh, it's like a little hen circle. The things you hear that can come through, I mean, it's wild. But the people who come through are fantastic. And, you know, we have a lot of elected officials, former and current, that come through. And I personally, it means a lot to me when I know that people shop small business, because I feel like that they keep that in mind, hopefully, in their decision making. But it's been an interesting way to grow up.
Well, let's talk about your store. Share for folks who may not know about the old store. Where is it located, and what are some of the things you carry at the old store?
So the old store is at Beatty's Ford and Brown Mill Road in Huntersville near Gilead. My parents have been running it for 20-something years now. We carry local, handmade, American-made, farm-grown. It's very much like a farmer's market, except open 7 or 6 days a week. They finally started closing 1 day a week this year, which is crazy. But it's small business, and it's a small business that purchases from other small businesses. And, you know, like the McIntosh law firm, that is to me a small business. And these are the people in your community who actually give back and do. Even the vendors that we use that are small, if it's a GoFundMe somebody's doing, or we're donating something to another nonprofit, they're like, well, you know, give them, you know, something of mine too. I mean, it's really the heart and soul of our community is the small business aspect.
Bob, you guys at the firm, we talked about it a little while ago, you're so involved. Why is it important to give back to the community? Because that's you believe that. You demonstrate that every day. Why is it so important that small business gets back to the community?
Well, the community is where our employees come from. It's where our clients come from. It's where jurors come from if we're trying a case. So being known in that community is important. And people make decisions on, well, do I go to Charlotte, hire an attorney? Do I hire an attorney here or whatever? And if they have seen some of our people out at an event, or they've been to an event that we sponsored, or they know that we do a lot of work at Rural Hill, or some other organization we're involved in, it sort of makes the phone call from them to us a little easier because they are familiar with who we are. They know who they're talking to.
You're not only involved in Rural Hill, but you're chair of the Hope House. What is your role? What is the Hope House, and what is your role there?
The Hope House is a Huntersville grown charity from Dr. Lee Beth Lindquist, who is no longer practicing here. She's moved out of state, but it serves women and children who are in a transitionally homeless situation. We have a fabulous executive director in Debbie O'Hanley, and we are working with the town, we're working with Habitat, we partner with a lot of community organizations to set up situations where someone who is what we call transitionally homeless. There's not hardcore homeless. It's somebody's down on their luck. Somebody's had a couple of bad things going on. We can come in and help them to get reestablished, get their credit back, get their job stuff where it needs to be, and then get them transitioned into another home situation for them. That is a step above what we're providing at Hope House. And one of the things that we've done recently is opened up our Linquist Glen tiny home village there, and we have plans. We've broken ground out off of Beatty's Ford Road in Huntersville on some property that we're getting ready to set up some more houses to try to move people from our main facility into the next step up.
How did you get involved with the Hope House?
That's something I probably shouldn't say on the radio. However, it did involve a visit to Dr. Linquist, and at an opportune time in that visit with Dr. Linquist, she said, "Oh, I'm doing this Hope House thing. Would you be on the board?" And I didn't feel like I could say no at that point. So that was 15 years ago, I guess, and I'm still on the board.
Fantastic service that the Hope House provides. Are any other programs that the firm is out there advocating?
We do a lot with the chamber. We do a lot in our local churches. We encourage the attorneys to get involved in charities and events that are important to them, that have meaning. We don't just get involved in something for the sake of being involved. We get involved because it's important to us. One of the new things that's coming out is a charity up in Mooresville called Bridge of Hearts. Mm-hmm. And it is going to work with the schools, the Iredell Statesville schools and the Mooresville schools and the North Meck schools, to assist with providing birthday recognitions for children and emergency situations. If a child winds up having to leave their home for some reason, there's some domestic violence or something going on, if they need an overnight kit or something like that, Dr. Morris, who used to be the principal at Cornelius Elementary School, she's gotten that going, and we've got a lot of support from Williamson Chapel and Broad Street Methodist and several other organizations up in the Mooresville area. So that's coming.
Bob, I'm the president of the Chamber of Commerce, but you've been the board chair. But for somebody who's not involved in the chamber, what can the chamber do for your business?
The chamber just opens a lot of doors. It puts you in immediate vicinity with a lot of decision makers. It puts you at the beck and call of people who can help your business. It opens up opportunities where if you're new to town or new to the opportunity to do business here, you walk into one of the Focus Fridays, you walk into one of the other lunch events, go to one of the chamber after hours, and you're there with the decision makers. You're there with the people who are able to support your business and able to help you further your business.
Well, Bob, we certainly appreciate everything you and the firm do for our community, being so involved, and Stacy, for your 3.5 years on the board, and I'd love to see you for 2 more, but I understand the role that you're going to be playing. But thank you very much for your service to our community. And remember, everybody out there, if it's Wednesday afternoon, we're talking about our towns. Thank you for joining us on our very first show.